Hello and welcome to another video. Today we're back with another marker coloring. It's the same as the one I did last week, where it's like this two-tone dynamic sort of lighting situation. I decided I just wanted to do another one. I actually sketched out 3 more of these, but we're just focusing on this one today. So this is my OC trash. I'm not really going to get too much into trash right now just because that's like a whole thing. But yeah, so for this one I decided I was going to use the colors blue and orange. Unfortunately for the blue and orange, for the orange specifically, I didn't have any lighter colors. I had this one. It's YRO2, so it's pretty saturated. It's not as saturated as the orange could be. I have an orange that's much more saturated, but it's also not as pastel as I would like it to be. And the last time I did this sort of thing, it was a much more pastel pink and green, and so I wanted to do something a little more pastel with the orange and the blue too, but this is the lightest orange that I had, that I felt was going to look nice and that I had a refill for. So unfortunately the colors for this one are a little bit saturated. That's not really an issue when it comes to the coloring. It's more of an issue when it comes to filling in such a large expanse with marker, just because it's so saturated. If you're not filling in all the spaces completely and completely saturating the paper, it is going to get sort of kind of a blotchy look and a not evenly flat coverage, which happened pretty much for most of this drawing. It does not have flat coverage all the way across, which is a little bit sad for me, because I feel like the flatness of the look of it actually sort of kind of helps with the way I wanted the shading to look, but that's fine. It's not a big deal. It's just a little sketchbook drawing. So it's just not as flat as I would have liked it to be. But like I said, that's okay. I didn't really put any sort of extra thought into it, really, because it's just like, these ones are actually really simple to do. They just take forever because it's like filling in the whole page with marker. And so that takes a long time just because markers are actually kind of small. And so they're really good for small areas. They're not really great for large areas. I mean, there are some people who can do really big pieces with markers. I don't know how they do that. I could not do that, and I struggle just doing this 8.5 by 11 page. Honestly, it's like very hard for me to get this all in nice one flat layer, especially when I'm doing it, like, it's sapping all of the ink every time I'm like coloring it, and it's like using so much ink to color it in like a very flat way that I would have liked, and so it's taking up so much ink, and I have to keep stopping and adding more ink into the markers, and so it's like, oh, it's taking forever. I guess I could have like tried to like just fill it up the page with just the alcohol ink just straight from the tube, which you could do if that's what you're into. I prefer not to do that. I feel like it wastes a lot of ink, but honestly, it's like, it's a little bit scary to do that because it's also harder to control, because with the marker you get the use of the tips, and so since you're using the tips, you get to control where the marker goes, right? But when you just use the ink straight from the bottle, it's gonna spread out and feather, and it's like very hard to control that way, which is why that's not really what it's for. I mean, you can use it that way, and I've seen a lot of artists who do use them that way. It's just like, for me, I am like very particular about where I want the colors to go, and I really want them to be in the lines, and I don't really like it when the colors go out of the lines, so I don't really use that sort of technique. But I probably would have been better to get like a flatter sort of look with the markers, just because since it's so saturated with ink, it's like it would have been nice and flat. But like I said, since it's so saturated with ink, it uses so much of the marker ink, and I probably would have used the whole tubes if I was filling it in that way. Sorry if the footage is going by a little bit quickly. I did have to put it's actually on 4 times speed. I was going to do it on just 2 times speed, but I was like, this is actually kind of boring to watch because I'm just filling in a flat layer. I'm not really doing any blending or anything, so I try to get it as short as possible without it being like giving you guys a headache to watch. So I hope you don't mind that. I really don't have much to say about the coloring technique because since I'm coloring in like so much space, I really just wanted to get it over with. Not to say that I didn't like this drawing and I did like the process. I did like the process of it, and I do like the drawing. I think it came out pretty cute. Pretty okay. I just feel like since the colors are so saturated, it kind of messes with the way I wanted the lights and the shadows, the quote-unquote lights and shadows, to look. They are the same value, so if you turn this to black and white, they probably would look the same all the way across, but just like the way I wanted to do like the lights and the darks, just using the contrast between the color, not by the value of it. Yeah, it's pretty much the same as the one that I did last week. It's just a little bit different, and I didn't use a reference of myself this time. Last week I used a reference I took of myself, but this one I was wanting to draw profiles of some of my OCs, and so I drew this profile, and so I was just like, I'll just find some references online that has like more dynamic lighting just for profiles. And so the shadows are not to 1 for that reference picture that I found. They're actually a little bit off just because the way that I draw hair and the way you draw hair, the way hair is in real life is like pretty different. You can see a lot of the light pass underneath the person's hair in the reference photo that I had. And I was like, I really don't want to get too complicated with that, because if I was like drawing the light on the hair and the light passing underneath the hair, I felt like that was going to be a little bit hard. So I was just like, I tried to keep it a little bit more. I did technically draw the light passing underneath the hair. That's why where his eyebrow is and like the top part of his eye, that part is covered in light technically. But it was a little bit more complicated the way that it was depicted in the photo. But I was like, I don't know if I can do that, and I don't know if I have the strength of will to do that currently either. So yeah, I just simplified it in a way that made a little bit more sense to me. And so that's the outcome of this. And so pretty much we're all the way done with this video, you guys. At least when it comes to coloring, because all I do is like color in the rest of this guy's head, and then I color in the background. And the background took me forever, you guys. And I got bored of coloring it. And so I know I've told you guys before, when it comes to marker coloring, you should try to like keep it all in the same direction, or you should try to color in these like little circles, so that way the marker is saturating the paper in the same amount all over across the page, so that way you can get a flat color. But I was like, this is so boring. I wanted to get done faster. And so when you're doing those little circles and you're like just trying to make it all one direction, it takes forever. And you're like going back and forth, doing those circles, and you're like, oh, it's taking forever. And it really does take forever. It takes a long time. And I am not a patient person, which is not entirely true. I feel like I have a lot of patience outwardly. Like, it seems like I have a lot of patience. Like, it will take a long time for me to start complaining about something, to be honest. I mostly just sit and fester in it. But while I'm sitting there being quiet, in my mind, I'm like, this takes forever. This sucks. And so that's what's going on when I'm trying to fill out this background. I'm like, this is taking forever. This sucks. It's like, I need to learn how a little bit more patience in art. I think it's part of my problem right now currently, is I don't have any patience, and like, I don't want to finish anything, and I'm like, I want this to be done already, which is like not the point of art at all. It's not the point. It's like, you're supposed to enjoy the process, and for most of the time I really do enjoy the process, especially when it comes to like sketching and stuff. When it comes to coloring, I just feel like all of my patience sort of comes and gets sapped out of my mind, especially when I feel like it's not going well. Not to say that I didn't think this was going well, it's just that it's just 2 colors, and so it's like fun to like sit there and like watch it become a little bit more dynamic, and like as you fill in the colors, you're like, wow, it's like a contrast, it looks cool, it looks like he's in light and shadow and stuff. But like after the novelty of that wears off, you're like, I want this to be done already. And so I'm like, maybe I should stop coloring the backgrounds and just start putting them in digitally, so that way it's a little bit easier for me. But then I'm like, but in my sketchbook, then they won't be all the way filled, and I kind of want this whole sketchbook to be filled up by the time I'm finished with it. I'm about a fifth of the way through. It's got like 100 pages, and I've done like 20 something drawings in it. Not all of those are finished. Like 20 out of 25 of them are done. So like a fifth of the way. No, that's a quarter. Idiot. Sorry, I don't know math, you guys. Like a quarter of the way through. That's like, I just have to do 75 more drawings, and it'll take me like, it took 2 years to do 25. So it'll only take me 8 more years to finish it, 6 more years to finish the drawing or the sketchbook. It's so sad, you guys. I've done a couple more this year. When I was doing it in 2022, I was doing like 1 per month, so I was able to fill it up a little bit faster. I don't draw as much finished stuff now though, so I can't fill it up as fast, but that's okay. We're coming on the end of the coloring, you guys. Sorry that took so long, but I'm just going back and forth, and then after that I just add a little bit of white white paint pen to like part of his eye. And also there was like this really strong rim lighting on the person in the photo. It was like really white on the edge of their nose and their mouth, and so I just added that in there too. And that's pretty much the end of the drawing, you guys. Sorry if I was complaining too much, but it just takes forever to get this stuff done. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'll go ahead and see you in the next one. Bye.